I think this is one of the biggest things that single Christians struggle with, is using Instagram daily or having TikTok or seeing Jess and Gabriel on YouTube, and I know you do watch them, and I know you're comparing your lifestyle to theirs. Hello and welcome to the Salt YouTube channel. My name is Gaz, and in today's video we're going to be talking about being content in relationships or during singleness. I think the first thing we need to acknowledge is that being content is important because the Bible says it's important, and it's more of like a state of being and a way of thinking often, rather than an emotion. I think a lot of people can conflate the emotional feeling of being content with an active way of thinking, and I've often found that just by changing the way I think about particular situations can actually create those feelings that are associated with being content. But before we get into what contentment looks like, I want to talk about why it's important and what the Bible says about it. In Hebrews chapter 13 verse 5, it says, "Keep your lives free from the love of money and be content with what you have, because God has said, quote, never will I leave you, never will I forsake you." It also says in the Bible in 1 Timothy chapter 6 verses 6 to 7, "But godliness with contentment is great gain, for we brought nothing into the world and we can take nothing out of it." And I think that's just a simple reminder that we come into this world by the grace of God, physically and materialistically and relationally. We don't really come into the world with anything. And when we die, tragically, we don't take anything else with us. We don't take clothes, we don't take our houses, we don't take our relationships. You know, the whole thing about marriage is, you know, that sort of vows like till death do us part. I think the Bible talks about being content with that as an aspect of human existence. If you're thinking about being in a relationship so much to the point where it's become like an idol, like money, and you're focusing on that so much, then you're missing the point of like how to be content. Being content, as the Bible is saying, it's a great gain. That's why we should seek for it. It's not that difficult to think of what contentment looks like, but the dictionary I found on the internet was actually surprising to me. It says a state of happiness and satisfaction, which when I first read that I was like, I thought it was going to be deeper than that, but that's so simple, right? Being in a state of happiness and satisfaction. And we live in a world nowadays where we're never satisfied. We don't have that true deep happiness. And I think that is the essence of what being content is in a relationship, is that you're not constantly unsatisfied. Being satisfied in a relationship and being happy in a relationship is something you work on. It's not something that just happens. And I think also, if you're in a season of singleness, or if you're single for a long period of time, and like you're just not satisfied with that feeling of like, I'm happy and I'm in a good place, then you're not content. And so what contentment looks like, I guess, as you're single, waking up in the morning without the stress of like, I'm still single, and like it's not on your thought process as much, and it's not like every decision you do to go see friends, you're not constantly seeking a girlfriend or boyfriend. Like if you go to a party, your first thought, if you are uncontent, is like, oh, is any of these people my future partner? And you're constantly like checking up and down and like analyzing people, and you don't go to parties where there's like no one that's fit or whatever. But being content in comparison would be to like go to parties regardless of whether your like significant other could be there, or like being friends with people without putting the pressure on like, oh, is this going to be a relationship or not? Because I think that happens all the time, is that like people will go out and hang out with friends and become friends in church, and there's always that kind of like expectation or like underlying sort of elephant in the room that you're kind of both sussing each other out to see if you're going to be in a relationship. And I think that's really unhealthy. Like if it's going to happen, it's going to happen, but don't overanalyze. If you're in a season of singleness like me, if you've been single for a long period of time, like trust me, I know what it feels like. I know it's difficult because you're yearning for that relationship and you want that intimate relationship with someone. But it's like that thing when you're looking for something in the house. The harder you look for it, the less likely you're gonna find it. And it's gonna be that moment when you give up looking and striving for this thing, that it's just gonna you're just gonna find it and it's just gonna happen. I'm not saying that you shouldn't prepare for marriage or get yourself ready to become the person that your future husband or wife would want to be with. But it's that kind of like unhealthy obsession of trying to find something. What are some practical ways of becoming more content with being single or in the relationship that you're in? If you're not content in this relationship, what are some of the things you can do to start becoming more content with who you're with and your situation? The first thing is to practice gratitude. I think being grateful for what you have is unbelievably powerful in creating contentment in your life and your relationships. I think we're so used to getting new things, and this consumer sort of like lifestyle that we live as modern people is that we're never happy and satisfied with something for longer than a month. Having a look around your house and just being grateful for the fact that you have a house and you have clothes to wear, or you have friends and you have a church that loves you, and being grateful for the fresh air that you get to breathe, and like, actually I have so much more than I deserve, and that's a step in the right direction. And if it's in a relationship, like, appreciate the fact that when they do that little thing that they enjoy and it makes them happy, be like, oh, I'm really grateful that that thing made them happy. Or if they serve you in some way, or make you a cup of tea, or do the dishes without you asking, or just compliment you. Just be grateful for the things that people do right, and not to focus so much on the things they do wrong, and almost have like this positive affirmation to yourself where it's like, try and see the good in people and be grateful for that, rather than constantly criticizing the bad. Another way to become more content within your life and your relationships with other people is to stop comparing yourself to other people and other relationships. I think this is one of the biggest things that single Christians struggle with, is using Instagram daily, or having TikTok, or seeing Jess and Gabriel on YouTube, and you're just, I know you do watch them, and I know you're comparing your lifestyle to theirs. We need to stop it. You know, we need to take a hard look in the mirror and think, is comparing myself and my situation to someone else doing anything for me? Because I can almost guarantee that comparison is the biggest reason you're unhappy with your situation, because you're comparing yourself. Everyone at your age was getting married, or like our parents getting married at our age now, or you know, some of your friends are all getting married, or all your friends are having children, and all your friends are doing this and that. I think we need to stop and just appreciate that we're not everyone else. We don't have to have everything sorted out the same that other people have. Maybe God has given you this moment to actually break and think about your relationship with Him, rather than everything else that goes on in this life. And so comparison 100% is something that me as a human being, I'm coming from my point of view here, is something I need to work on hugely, because I'm always comparing myself to other people. How much money I've made this month, have I got this equipment from whatever, you know, it's constant. And I think things like social media don't help that. So I think you've heard it 100,000 times, but I don't know if you have actually done it. Delete Instagram off your phone. You don't have to delete your account, just delete Instagram off your phone. It just stops you from going on Instagram every single time you go on your phone and checking stuff and constantly looking at people's like lives. Just get it off your phone. You don't need it. And you slowly start to realize that there's actually so much more to distract yourself with, rather than just looking at other people's perfect lives, you know. And the last thing that I think will be really helpful for your building of contentment in your relationship or as singleness is helping other people. And so if you're in a relationship, I think being more content will come from serving that other person in that relationship, whether they deserve it or not. And if we can learn anything from the late Queen, is that she served her country with all her heart and all her life. I think there was actually a psychological paper done, and I can't remember the name of it, or I haven't got it, so you're gonna have to just either trust me or go look it up yourself. But there was this psychology thing where it's if people do things for you, it makes them like you more. So if you're in a classroom and you ask someone if you ask to borrow their pencil, if they give you their pencil, the person that gives you the pencil is more likely to like you because they're doing something for you. And so it's deeply ingrained into our human psychology that doing stuff for other people actually makes us like them more. And so if you're not content in your relationship, serving your partner, it's gonna make you like them more and be more content. So it's a weird sort of thing, but if it doesn't work, it's not the end of the world. But try it, and I think you'll be surprised by the outcome. And it's not just serving them in ways that you do anyway, it's serving them in ways that you haven't done before. So serving them and doing that thing they hate doing, and doing it, or doing the thing that you hate doing and they always do, take the bins out or something. If you do that without even questioning it, serve other people. If you're single, serve in your local community. This is a perfect moment in life to actually go and do stuff with your life. And instead of being focused on having a relationship, focus on serving others, and contentment will follow. Just remember that being content is a journey. It's not just going to happen overnight, and it takes effort to be content. It's not an emotional thing. There's emotions connected with it, like happiness and peace, but contentment is an active thing that you need to try and work on. So if you're single or if you're in a relationship and you don't feel content, I would just urge you to try and pray and find guidance and just work on becoming more purposeful with your life. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you've enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't enjoy it, hit the thumbs down twice. I hope you have a wonderful weekend or week or day or whenever you watch this. Hope it's great, and I'll see you in the next video.